Do you still remember the laughter from My Favorite Martian? Funny, heartwarming, and full of magic. But behind every laugh were heavy, unseen stories from behind the scenes. Some collapsed right on set. Others died suddenly at the height of their fame. Who were they? Join us as we rediscover their names and honor the legacies they left behind. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's go. Bill Bixby as Tim O'Hara. Bill Bixby was just 29 years old when he played Tim O'Hara, a young reporter who discovers an alien and decides to hide him in his apartment in My Favorite Martian, 1963. The role, smart, sincere, and funny, turned Bixby into one of America's most beloved TV stars for 3 years. Born on January 22, 1934 in San Francisco, California, Bill Bixby showed artistic talent early on, but his private life was filled with heartbreak. 3 marriages, 3 painful chapters. His first wife, actress Brenda Bennett, gave birth to their only son, Christopher. But tragedy struck in 1981 when the boy died at just 6 years old from epiglottitis. A year later, Brenda Bennett took her own life, leaving Bixby shattered and unable to recover from the loss. Those emotional wounds followed him for the rest of his life, contributing to the breakdown of his next 2 marriages due to illness and psychological strain. In 1991, he was diagnosed with prostate cancer. Bixby kept working as both actor and director, hiding his suffering to complete his television projects. But the disease advanced rapidly, weakening his body and spirit. Even so, he remained calm and compassionate, helping other cancer patients and proving the strength of a man who refused to surrender to fate. On November 21, 1993, Bill Bixby passed away in Los Angeles at the age of 59. He was laid to rest at Pierce Brothers Valley Oaks Memorial Park. His net worth at the time was estimated at around $10 million, a fitting tribute to a lifetime of dedication to television, with classics such as The Courtship of Eddie's Father and The Incredible Hulk. Pamela Britton as Mrs. Lorelei Brown. Pamela Britton played the kind, naive, and endlessly curious landlady Mrs. Lorelei Brown, the woman fascinated by her strange tenant living with Tim O'Hara in My Favorite Martian, 1963, when she was 40 years old. Her humor and warmth became one of the show's brightest elements, helping make all 107 episodes feel more human and cozy. Born on March 19, 1923, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Pamela Britton began her career on Broadway before Hollywood came calling. After World War II, she married Captain Arthur Steele Britton, a veteran who carried deep psychological scars from the war. Their marriage faced many tensions due to the clash between her artistic lifestyle and his military discipline, but they stayed together and raised a daughter, Catherine Lee. Even as her career flourished, the combined pressures of fame and family often left Britton emotionally exhausted. In 1974, after a minor car accident, doctors discovered she had a brain tumor, an illness that had likely been developing for years. She suffered from constant headaches, insomnia, and failing vision that drained her strength. Though she underwent surgery, the disease progressed too quickly, and she spent her final months in the hospital with her husband by her side. Pamela Britton passed away on June 17, 1974, in Arlington Heights, Illinois, at the age of 51. She was laid to rest in a solemn ceremony surrounded by her family and friends from the stage world. Her net worth at the time was estimated at around $1 million, earned from decades of work on television and in theater. Ray Walston as Uncle Martin. At 49 years old, Ray Walston brought to life Uncle Martin, the witty, intelligent, and endlessly curious alien in My Favorite Martian, 1963. His performance made him the heart and soul of all 107 episodes, convincing audiences that a real Martian might be living among humans. With his subtle humor and graceful charm, Walston became a defining face of American television throughout the 1960s. Born on November 2, 1914, in Laurel, Mississippi, Walston grew up in a working-class family and turned to theater as a way to escape poverty. He married Ruth Calvert in 1943, a marriage that lasted nearly 6 decades, an extraordinary feat in Hollywood. Yet behind that long-lasting union was quiet loneliness, years spent away from his wife and daughter due to relentless filming schedules, and the guilt of knowing Ruth had sacrificed her own career to care for their home. Still, she remained by his side through it all, even as his health began to decline in later years. In 1994, Walston was diagnosed with systemic lupus erythematosus, an autoimmune disease that caused severe joint pain, exhaustion, and forced him to abandon many projects. He fought his illness in silence, rarely speaking of it publicly to preserve his strong image. In his final years, he managed only a handful of small roles before retiring completely to rest with his family. On January 1, 2001, Ray Walston passed away at his home in Beverly Hills, California, at the age of 86. Surrounded by his family, he was laid to rest, leaving behind an estimated net worth of $5 million, a well-earned reward for more than half a century of dedication to stage and screen. Alan Hewitt as Detective Bill Brennan. Alan Hewitt was 48 years old when he played Detective Bill Brennan, the ever-suspicious investigator determined to uncover the secret of Tim O'Hara and his alien uncle in My Favorite Martian, 1963. He brought tension mixed with humor to the role, adding the perfect balance to the series. Born on January 21, 1915 in New York City, Alan Hewitt was raised in a middle-class family and graduated from Dartmouth College in 1934. He began his career on Broadway before transitioning to film and television. Never married, Hewitt devoted his life entirely to acting and the study of theater. Loneliness was the price of that devotion. He often said he was married to the stage. In his later years, he withdrew from Hollywood, living quietly in New York, where he devoted his time to charity work, supporting libraries, schools, and religious organizations. In the 1980s, he was diagnosed with cancer. The disease progressed slowly but relentlessly, weakening him over time. Despite his suffering, Hewitt remained gracious and private, rarely discussing his condition with the press. On November 7, 1986, Alan Hewitt passed away at Memorial Sloan Kettering Hospital in New York at the age of 71. He was buried at Union Field Cemetery in Ridgewood, New York. His net worth was estimated at around $2 million, modest, yet a reflection of a life spent in pure, passionate dedication to his craft. J. Pat O'Malley as Mr. Harry Burns. At 59 years old, J. Pat O'Malley played Mr. Harry Burns, Tim O'Hara's humorous yet firm and kind-hearted boss, in My Favorite Martian, 1963. Although only a supporting character who appeared mainly in the first season, O'Malley left a memorable impression with his friendly manner, distinctive voice, and warm smile. He was the kind of face that made viewers feel at home, bringing an extra touch of light-heartedness to the series. Born on March 15, 1904, in Burnley, England, James Patrick O'Malley grew up surrounded by music and theater. He began his career in British musical theater before moving to the United States during World War II. In Hollywood, he became the quintessential uncle of the nation, appearing in hundreds of films and television shows, from The Twilight Zone to The Untouchables. His marriage to Margaret Mullen lasted nearly 50 years, and they raised 2 children together, maintaining a modest, loving family amid the glitter of show business. However, the pressures of work and constant travel often kept him away from home, something O'Malley always regretted when looking back. In his later years, age and heart problems began to take their toll. Despite his declining health, O'Malley continued working as a voice actor for Disney animated films, bringing joy to children worldwide. He often said, "If I can still make a child laugh, it means I'm still alive." On February 27, 1985, J. Pat O'Malley passed away in San Juan Capistrano, California, at the age of 80, following a sudden heart attack. Surrounded by his family, he was laid to rest, leaving behind an estimated net worth of $1.5 million. a fitting legacy for a man whose gentle voice and tireless spirit touched audiences everywhere. Gavin MacLeod as Alvin Wanamaker. In My Favorite Martian, 1963, Gavin MacLeod was just 32 years old when he appeared as Alvin Wanamaker, a brief supporting role that stood out thanks to his sharp wit and effortless humor. Few could have predicted that this same actor would later become the legendary Captain Merrill Steubing on the Love Boat and one of American television's most beloved icons. Born on February 28, 1931, in Mount Kisco, New York, MacLeod began his life in hardship, working as an elevator operator at Radio City Music Hall before finding his way into acting. His personal life was a series of painful challenges. He married Patty Kendig in 1955, and they had 4 children together, but divorced in 1972 after his alcoholism spiraled out of control. He later married Joan Rootvik in 1974, only to divorce again in 1982. Then, in 1985, Gavin and Patty reunited after both went through recovery and rediscovered their Christian faith. Addiction once destroyed his career, but faith ultimately saved it. From the mid-1980s onward, MacLeod became a spiritual speaker, traveling across the United States to share his story of redemption. He called it the truest role of my life, not one played on screen, but lived through faith and forgiveness. On May 29, 2021, Gavin MacLeod passed away at his home in Palm Desert, California, at the age of 90 of natural causes. He was laid to rest at Forest Lawn Cemetery in Cathedral City, leaving behind an estimated net worth of $10 million. And a lasting artistic legacy that stretched from The Mary Tyler Moore Show to The Love Boat. Richard Deacon as James J. Jackson. At 41 years old, Richard Deacon appeared as James J. Jackson, a guest character marked by his stern demeanor and dry wit, a style that had become his signature in My Favorite Martian, 1963. Though his screen time was brief, Deacon made a strong impression with his deep, commanding voice and authoritative presence, reminding audiences of his familiar roles in The Dick Van Dyke Show and Leave It to Beaver. Born on May 14, 1922, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Deacon developed a passion for theater from a young age. Legendary actress Helen Hayes once advised him, "You'll never be the leading man, but you'll be the one people always remember." Those words became his destiny. For 4 decades, Deacon remained a fixture of American television. Behind the camera, however, his life was marked by solitude. He was a gay man who had to keep his identity hidden during an era when Hollywood was not accepting, choosing instead a quiet, private life without marriage. Beyond acting, Deacon had a deep love for cooking. In the 1980s, he became a pioneer in the field of microwave cooking, hosting his own cooking show in Canada and publishing a series of cookbooks, revealing a gentler, more creative side of himself. But that happiness was short-lived. Chronic heart disease and high blood pressure began to take their toll. On the night of August 8, 1984, Richard Deacon died suddenly of a heart attack at his home in Beverly Hills at the age of 62. His remains were cremated and his ashes scattered at sea. At the time of his death, his net worth was estimated at around $3 million, largely earned from more than 3 decades of steady work in television. Madge Blake as Cora Darling. In 1963, at age 64, Madge Blake played Cora Darling, a sweet, quirky guest character who brought gentle humor to My Favorite Martian. Though her appearance was brief, she left an impression with her charm and warmth, the same qualities that later made her beloved as Aunt Harriet in the Batman TV series. Madge Blake was born on May 31st, 1899, in Kinsley, Kansas, to a working-class family. She and her husband, engineer James Lincoln Blake, both worked on the Manhattan Project during World War II, inspecting detonator devices for the atomic bomb. Their marriage was strong and harmonious, a rare example of enduring love in the entertainment world. After the war, in her 40s, Madge began her acting career and soon became known as television's mother, often cast in gentle, humorous supporting roles that audiences adored. However, by the early 1960s, her health began to decline. After suffering her first heart attack, she was forced to gradually step back from acting. Still, she made every effort to appear in the Doris Day show before her condition worsened. By late 1968, she could no longer continue working. On February 19, 1969, Madge Blake passed away in Pasadena, California, at the age of 69 from cardiac arrest. She was buried beside her mother at Grandview Memorial Park. Her net worth at the time was estimated at around $500,000, modest in money, but her true legacy was far greater. The image of a gentle, loving woman who always brought smiles to the audience's hearts. Olan Soule as Daniel Farrow. In My Favorite Martian, 1963, Olan Soule was 54 years old when he portrayed Daniel Farrow, a calm, intelligent, and slightly eccentric guest character. Though his appearance was brief, he brought to the show the refined charm of a seasoned actor, leaving audiences with the lasting memory of his warm voice and composed demeanor. Olan Soule was born on February 28, 1909, in La Harpe, Illinois. His entire life revolved around studios and the stage. He married Norma Elizabeth Miller in 1929, when his career was just beginning. Their marriage lasted over 6 decades, filled with love, but not without hardship. Norma watched her husband exhaust himself under the relentless pace of work, while Olan often felt guilty for being away from home so often. In the late 1980s, Norma became gravely ill and passed away in 1992, leaving Olan heartbroken. 2 years later, he was diagnosed with lung cancer, caused by years of smoking in smoke-filled recording studios. Despite his suffering, he continued working quietly, completing his final voice roles. For him, hearing my voice come alive in a character is the greatest joy of all. On February 1, 1994, Olan Soule passed away at his daughter's home in Corona, California, at the age of 84. He left behind an estimated net worth of $1 million, the reward for nearly 70 years of artistic dedication. With thousands of performances and countless hours of recordings, Olan Soule is forever remembered as the golden voice of radio and television's golden age, Dick Wilson as Charlie. Dick Wilson was 47 years old when he appeared in My Favorite Martian, 1963, as Charlie, the cheerful, slightly clumsy neighbor who brought laughter and lightness to the series. Though only a guest role, Wilson left a mark with his playful humor and likable face, embodying the warmth and timing of classic comedy. Dick Wilson was born on July 30, 1916, in Preston, England. He married Meg Brown in 1959, a marriage that lasted nearly half a century. Behind their enduring bond were long years of struggle as he faced unstable work and financial stress. Meg was both his emotional anchor and his guiding hand, keeping Wilson steady through the ups and downs of his acting life. Together, they raised 3 children, including actress Melanie Wilson, who later followed in her father's footsteps. In middle age, Wilson's health began to decline, but he remained active, becoming nationally famous in the 1980s as Mr. Whipple in television commercials. Despite his widespread recognition, he chose a modest, quiet life, spending his time with family and grandchildren rather than seeking the spotlight. On November 18, 2007, Dick Wilson passed away at the Motion Picture and Television Hospital in Woodland Hills, California, at the age of 91, of natural causes. He was buried at Forest Lawn Cemetery in Hollywood Hills. His net worth was estimated at around $2 million, a testament to a lifetime of hard work and to the laughter and warmth he brought to millions of viewers over more than 50 years. Larry D. Mann as Butterball. At 41 years old, Larry D. Mann appeared as Butterball, a brief but charming guest role that showcased his natural humor and free-spirited acting style. In My Favorite Martian, 1963. Though his appearance was small, Mann made a lasting impression as an actor who could turn ordinary moments into something memorable. Larry D. Mann was born on December 18, 1922, in Toronto, Canada. His life was a long journey of perseverance and passion. Before coming to Hollywood, he worked as a radio announcer and DJ for station 1050 Chum in Toronto. In 1946, he married Gloria Cockburg, beginning a marriage that lasted nearly 70 years and produced 4 children. Their union was loving but not without strain. Mann often had to travel back and forth between Canada and the United States for film work, leaving Gloria to manage the household alone for long stretches of time. Yet Gloria remained his steadfast support, the one person who could always persuade him to come home. In later years, as age caught up with him, Mann slowed down his on-screen work and turned to voice acting, a field in which he became beloved as the voice of Yukon Cornelius in Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. His body grew weaker, but his spirit stayed youthful and full of humor. He once said, "I'm not afraid of getting old. I'm only afraid of stopping my laughter." On January 6, 2014, Larry D. Mann passed away of natural causes in Los Angeles at the age of 91. He left behind an estimated net worth of $1 million and an artistic legacy spanning more than 4 decades. Don Haggerty as bank guard. Don Haggerty was 49 years old when he played the bank guard, a small role that perfectly displayed his trademark toughness and stern composure, in My Favorite Martian, 1963. With his rugged look and steady presence, Haggerty became a familiar face across hundreds of films and TV series, from westerns like Bonanza to gritty police dramas such as Dragnet. Born on July 3, 1914, in Poughkeepsie, New York, Haggerty was a talented athlete before serving in the U.S. military during World War II. After the war, he transitioned into acting. His personal life was turbulent. He married 3 times. His first marriage to Libby Bennett ended quickly, while his second, to Faye Devereaux Keith, ended tragically with her death in 1951, leaving him with 1 child. It wasn't until 1982 that he finally found peace with his third wife, Janet McAuliffe, who stayed by his side until the end. In the 1980s, Haggerty was diagnosed with cancer. Despite the pain, he continued working, taking on small television roles just to keep doing what he loved. Friends recalled that he rarely complained, often saying, "Being in front of the camera is my last joy." On August 19, 1988, Don Haggerty passed away in Florida at the age of 74 after a long battle with cancer. His net worth was estimated at around $800,000, a modest yet honorable reward for a lifetime of dedication to film. To audiences, he remains a symbol of the rugged, resilient man who never gave up, on screen or in life. Paul Sorensen, as first policeman. At 37 years old, Paul Sorensen appeared as the first policeman, a sharp, no-nonsense officer whose brief scene in My Favorite Martian, 1963, still captured his trademark calmness, discipline, and watchful intensity. Though a minor role, Sorensen's presence stood out, reflecting the authority and composure he displayed across hundreds of American television series throughout the 1960s. Paul Sorensen was born on February 16, 1926, in Kenosha, Wisconsin. He married Jacqueline May in September 1957, and their marriage lasted over 45 years until her passing in 2002. Their life together wasn't lavish, but it was filled with loyalty and faith. While Paul constantly moved between film sets in California, Jacqueline quietly raised their 2 sons, Christian and David. Sorensen once said, "She's the one who reminds me who I am in this shallow world." Yet the pressure of show business and the weight of aging often left him physically and emotionally drained, especially as he watched his wife's health decline in her final years. After Jacqueline's death, Sorensen gradually withdrew from Hollywood. He began studying theology with his son Christian, and together they became ministers, dedicating their later lives to outreach for people from the entertainment industry. In his final years, he lived simply, reading the Bible, caring for his grandchildren, and calling that the most genuine role of my life. On July 17, 2008, Paul Sorensen passed away in Cardiff-by-the-Sea, California, at the age of 82 of natural causes. He left behind an estimated net worth of $700,000 and the legacy of a grounded, honorable life, both on and off the screen. Alan Melvin as Clarence. In My Favorite Martian, 1963, Alan Melvin was 40 years old when he played Clarence, a witty, mischievous, and quick-thinking guest character. Though his appearance was brief, Melvin's sharp comedic timing and versatility shone through, cementing his reputation as one of television's most familiar faces for more than 3 decades. Alan Melvin was born on February 18, 1923, in Kansas City, Missouri. He married Amalia Faustina Sestero in 1944, a union that lasted over 60 years until his passing. Despite his professional success, family life was not without its pressures, especially during his busiest years filming multiple shows and recording voice work for animated series. Amalia once said her husband only truly rested when he was home with his family. That sense of grounding kept him balanced and helped him steer clear of Hollywood's temptations. For years, Melvin battled recurring health problems but continued to work with determination. He lent his voice to Magilla Gorilla and the Banana Splits, and became iconic for roles such as Sam the Butcher on The Brady Bunch and Barney Hefner on All in the Family. When cancer quietly appeared later in life, it never stopped him. Even in his final years, he continued recording and attending fan conventions, always bringing laughter wherever he went. On January 17, 2008, Alan Melvin passed away in Brentwood, Los Angeles, at the age of 84, after a long battle with cancer. He was laid to rest at Westwood Memorial Cemetery, alongside many Hollywood legends. His net worth at the time of his death was estimated at around $2 million, a well-deserved reward for a lifelong dedication to making the world smile just a little more. Bernie Kopell as Senor Pepe Lopez. In 1963, at age 30, Bernie Kopell appeared as Senor Pepe Lopez, a small but entertaining guest role where he showcased his comedic timing and distinct voice in My Favorite Martian. It was one of his earliest appearances that helped him gain recognition in Hollywood, paving the way for a long and successful career, including his iconic performances in Get Smart and The Love Boat. Bernie Kopell was born on June 21, 1933, in Brooklyn, New York, to a Jewish family. After graduating from New York University in 1955, he served in the U.S. Navy. Returning home in 1957, he pursued his dream of becoming an actor. His early years in Los Angeles were difficult. He drove taxis and sold vacuum cleaners to make ends meet before landing his first role. His personal life was just as eventful. He went through 2 divorces from actresses Celia Whitney and Yolanda Velaz before finding lasting happiness with his third wife, Katrina Honadle, much younger than him but deeply devoted, sharing both his joys and the loneliness of a performer's life. Despite his success, Kopell struggled with being typecast as the charming ship doctor from The Love Boat. He admitted going through a period of depression when he couldn't escape the shadow of Doc Bricker. But instead of rejecting his past, he chose to embrace it, turning his character into a symbol of nostalgia and joy. He often appeared in retrospectives and reunion specials celebrating classic sitcoms, becoming a beloved reminder of television's golden era. Today, Bernie Kopell is 92 years old and still active in entertainment. In 2022, he performed off-Broadway in Two Jews, talking alongside Hal Linden, and continues to appear at television events and nostalgic gatherings. His estimated net worth is around $3 million. A testament to a lifetime of perseverance, laughter, and timeless charm that has endured through generations. Those smiles may have faded, but their memories live on. Do you believe my favorite Martian will continue to live in the hearts of its fans? Share your thoughts. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories from behind the glow of Hollywood's golden years.